Okay, so slope formula number 25, and today is the 9th. So this is going right behind that last sheet that we glued in about linear and nonlinear. Now we mentioned our slope formula the other day when we were taking notes in our textbook. We talked about it then, so we're going to work with it some more today. Let's see, Grayson, will you shut my hall door, please? Thank you. All right, so before we get into our slope formula, I want to just give you a few reminders, and we'll be hitting it again, but I just want to point out a few things. Remember, we've been talking about our equation, y equals mx plus b. And does anybody remember what we call it? We haven't said it a whole lot, but what that form is of that equation? Does anybody remember that? Yeah, that's your slope-intercept form. That's the form that we want it in when we're going to be graphing. Okay, that's the easiest way to graph a line is when you have that. We learned the other day about picking out the pieces from this equation. What did we say the m represents? The slope, which is our what? Well, it's not. It's your rate of change. Yeah, it's the coefficient of x. Yeah. And then the b is our what? Y-intercept, which we started calling, our initial value. Okay, so we've been using these pieces for a while. We just now started calling them their true names. Okay. All right, and who can describe what slope is? What's slope mean? When I say the slope of the line, what am I talking about? Michael? Yeah, but give me like a more of a physical description. Aaliyah? Yeah, that's what we're looking at, is the steepness of the line. Okay, so bigger the slope, steeper the line. So bigger the slope, steeper the line. And when I say bigger the slope, I don't even, you're comparing the absolute value of slope. So like, if I had a slope of -2 and I had a slope of 1/2, -2 would be a steeper line. It's going to go a different direction, but 2 is bigger than 1/2. Okay, so we're talking about absolute value when we say that. Okay. All right, and then let's just put a couple of examples before we move on to our slope formula. If I had y equals 2x plus 4, and my directions just said identify the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, because you'll have that sometimes. It's just asking you to pick out the pieces. What is the m? What's the slope? 2. What's the b? What's the y-intercept? 4. Easy as that. Okay. If I had y equals x minus 5, what would be the m? 1. Yes, because you have x, so it's not 0. It would only be 0 if you didn't have an x. And remember, there is a 1 understood in front of x. All right, and what about the y-intercept? -5, because remember, -5 is the same as -5. All right, and let me give you just a couple more. What if I had y equals 2x? What's my m? 2. What's my b?
1.
0. There's no plus 1. It's just That's it. It's 2x. So that means that line would go through the origin. So 0 would be its y-intercept. Well, what if I had y equals 5? What's my m? 0. Now that's when I've got 0. So if I have 0 slope, there's no rise to it. So what's that line going to look like? Yeah, horizontal. It's going to be a flat line. And then what about the b? 5. So it's telling you where on the y-axis that horizontal line is going to hit. Okay, so if you don't have an x in the problem, then m is 0. All right, and then if I've got, let's say, x equals 2, this one's a little different. What am I missing in the problem? A y, so I don't have a y-intercept. So what's the only line that's never going to cross the y? Yeah, a vertical. So this is a vertical line. So we say, and we'll get more into this in a few minutes, we would say that the m is undefined. That's what the slope of a vertical line is, and it wouldn't have a y-intercept, okay, because this is a vertical line. The only time a vertical line would have a y-intercept if it was x equals 0 and it was a vertical line on the y-axis, which you rarely have, but it could. Okay. And then, let's see, since I made mention that was a vertical, let's go ahead and put down this would be a horizontal. Now, what if I give you the pieces, could you write the equation? Yes. Sure. What would your equation be? Y equals 2x minus 3. Good. You could put plus -3, but minus 3 is the same thing, and you wouldn't see plus a negative if it was multiple choice. Let's put one more. What about m equals 1/2 and b equals 0? What would I have? Yes, y equals 1/2 x. And if it's 0, we don't have to put plus 0 or minus 0. It's just 1/2 x. All right, so I just wanted to pull those two things. I felt like we've looked at all those pieces, but I didn't know if we had really put it all together, as in, here, pick out the m and the b and labeling that. Okay. All right, now I'm going to turn the page. If you got room, you can keep writing, but I want to have some more space, so I'm going to move to the back. All right, now let's talk about our slope formula. So we saw in the book the other day that the formula for slope, which remember that's what m is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we said that's just another way of writing what we've already been talking about. We've been saying that rate of change or slope is the change in y over the change in x. And to find change, you have to subtract. You find it's the difference. Okay? We mentioned the other day also this is the change in your vertical, which is your y, over the change in your horizontal, which is your x. And then the book brought in, let's just call it rise over run, because a vertical movement is a rise. If I stand up, that's a vertical change. A run, if I run across the room, that's a horizontal change. Okay, so it's rise over run. All right, so let's just do some math. let's say I've got these ordered pairs, -1 and 4, and 2 and -2. Now, when we saw this in the book, I told you that these little 1s and 2s, all that meant was the first set and the second set. Okay, we're not doing anything with the 1s and 2s. It's not exponents. They're subscripts. They're just telling you which set it is. So this is x1 and y1. This is x2 and y2. So we're going to do just what the formula says. It says on top, y2 minus y1. So we're going to put -2 minus 4. That's finding the difference in our y's. And then on the bottom, it said x2 minus x1. So we're doing 2 minus -1. Now notice I kept them, it's always a minus, and then it's a -1, so there's another negative sign in there, okay? Don't think, oh, I've already got a minus, so I don't have to write the negative. You write everything that you're given, okay? All right, so what is -2 minus 4? -6. All right, and then remember, these two negatives, minus a negative is the same as what? Plus a positive. So we really just have 2 plus 1, and we get 3. And then we would want to simplify one more time. I don't ever want to make them make it improper, but I do want to reduce down as much as I can. Okay. So what is -6 divided by 3? -2. So my slope, if I graphed out these 2 points, my slope would be -2. Okay? To get from one point to the next, to any 2 points on that line that these 2 points are on, I would move down 2 and over 1, down 2 and over 1. That would be the slope. Okay? All right, let's do another one. Let's do 2, 3. And 8, -5. All right, so y is on top. So what's going to be on top? -5 minus 3. And on the bottom, 8 minus 2. And this is where we got to know our integer rules. So -5 and -3 give us -8, and 8 minus 2 gives us 6. Now, I don't want to make it a mixed number. I'm going to leave it improper, but I am going to reduce it. What goes into 8 and 6? 2. So this will actually reduce down to -4/3. And I'll leave it there. Okay, because we still want a rise over run. I don't want a mixed number. I can't do slope with a mixed number. All right, how are we feeling so far? Feeling okay? You ready to try one? Yes, no, maybe? All right, let's try. Do -2, -4. And 7, 3. Find your slope for those 2 points. All right, you ready? Or are you getting there? All right, so what's going on top? 3 minus negative 4. What's going on the bottom?
7 minus negative 2.
Yes, 7 minus negative 2. All right, so what is 3 minus negative 4? 7. What's 7 minus negative 2? 9. How many guys 7 ninths? Y'all look great. All right. Let's do this one. Do 8 5 and 4 2. 8 5 and 4 2. All right, Will, how'd you set this one up? Okay. There we go. And what did that give you, Will? All right, negative 3 over negative 4. And 2 negatives make a what? Positive. So let's go ahead and make it a positive 3/4. How many got 3/4? Or you got both negatives, you just needed to, okay, yeah. And anytime you get that where you have the both negatives, go ahead and make it a positive, because the positives is what's going to be on multiple choice. That's truly like simplified all the way, okay? All right, let me give you several to try. You're doing well. Bless you. All right, actually, let me give you one more, and then I'm going to show you something else. Do that one, and then we'll go from there. All right, Marisol, how'd you set this one up? All right. Okay. And then, so what did that give you on top? What'd you get on top? It's negative 5 minus 2. Yeah, negative 7. Oh, did I miss a negative? Oh, I did. I missed writing the negative. Thank you. Sorry. All right, Marisol, tell me again what you got on top. I better go with your answer. Negative 3, yeah. Sorry about that. Thanks, guys. All right, so negative 3 on top, and then what about on the bottom, Marisol? Negative 3, and then those two negatives make a positive 1. Okay, good. How many got 1? Awesome, awesome. All right. Yeah, so you see, it's easy to miss those negatives. So do better than I. All right, now let's look at this one. Let's say I've got 3, 3, and 5, 3. All right, so what's going to go on top? Yeah, 3 minus 3. What's going on the bottom? 5 minus 3. Well, what is 3 minus 3? 0. What's 5 minus 3? 2. Now, if you get 0 in your answer, 0 in your fraction, you can't just leave it there. You've got to say, okay, then this is 0 slope, or this is undefined. You got to tell me, is this a horizontal line or is this a vertical line? So if it has 0 rise, what kind of line is that going to be? Horizontal. So we would just say that it has 0 slope. You have to go one more step when you have 0 in the fraction, because they're not going to give you 0 over 2 as an answer. It's going to say 0 slope or horizontal line or something like that. All right. Same thing here. Let's say I've got 2, 5 and 2, 4. What's going to go on top? Yeah, 4 minus 5. What's going to go on the bottom? 2 minus 2. So 4 minus 5 is negative 1, and 2 minus 2 is 0. And if this one's going to be undefined, because this one has no run, it only has rise. So all it does is this, okay? And if you actually put this in a calculator, negative 1 divided by 0, it would give you an error message, because the calculator can't give you the value of the slope of a vertical line, okay? So that we would have to write out as undefined. Okay. So I wanted to be sure I showed you the difference in those two. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to my page, because I'm going to give you several problems to do. So find your slope. Okay, thank you. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Here we go. Okay, do those. All right, let's look at what we got. So let's see. Grace, what about number 8? How'd you set it up?
I did 7 minus negative 4 over 3 minus 2.
All right, and what did that give you?
11 over 1.
Yeah, and you could write it as just 11, or you could leave it as 11 over 1, either way. How many got 11 for that one? Awesome. All right, let's see. Kane, what about number 9? What'd you write on top?
I wrote negative 6 minus negative 1.
Good. And on the bottom?
3 minus negative
3 minus negative 2.
5 over
Did you get a positive 5 on top? Because what is negative 6 minus negative 1? That would give me negative 5, right? And 3 minus... Do what? Oh, yeah, right here beside Will. All right, and then 3 minus negative 2 gave us 5. So I'm getting a negative 5 on top. Are y'all okay with that? Am I missing something? Okay, and then negative 5 over 5 reduces to what? Negative 1. Okay, how many got negative 1? Okay, good, good. All right, Eli, what about number 10? What'd you put on top? Okay, and on the bottom? Good. And so what'd that give you on top? Nah. Because it's the same as negative 2 plus 4. Yeah, and then what'd you get on the bottom? 0. So what do we really have? Undefined. Because remember, there's only rise, there's no run. So that's a vertical line. How many got undefined on that one? Okay, good, good. All right, 11. Trinity, what'd you put on top? Okay, and on bottom?
3 minus negative 2. Negative 3 minus 2.
There you go, negative 3 minus 2. Okay, and then so what'd that give you on top?
0.
And on the bottom?
Negative 5.
And so what do you really have?
0.
0. How many got 0 on 11? Okay, good. All right, Brandon, what about 12? What'd you get on top?
Negative 3 minus negative 3.
Okay, and on bottom?
Negative 5 minus negative 2.
Okay, and what'd that give you on top?
0.
And what'd it give you on the bottom?
Negative 3.
So what do you really have?
Undefined.
0's on top.
So that'd be horizontal.
So yeah, so that means 0 rise, so horizontal line, so 0 slope. How many got 0 on 12? Okay, good. Let's see. Kelsey, what about 13? What'd you put on top?
I got 7 minus 5 over negative 2 minus negative 1, which equals 2 over negative 1 dot negative 1.
And you got how much?
Negative
2 over negative 1 will give you negative 2.
1. Oh.
Yeah, there you go. How many got negative 2? All right. And Ann Abbott, what about number 14?
I put 7 minus 3 on top, and then negative 2 minus negative 2 on the bottom, and so that was negative 4 over 0.
Okay, 4 over 0.
Oh yeah, 4.
Okay.
And then that's undefined.
Yes, undefined. Undefined. All right. How many got all of those right? Okay, several of you. All right, now let me just throw you in one more, just so you will have seen it. You don't have to do anything different, but sometimes they give you fractions. Let's do, I'll give you an easy one. See, we got that. That's not too bad. All right, so what's going to go on top?
2 minus 3.
Yeah, 2 minus 3. What's going on bottom?
Negative 3 over 4 minus 1.
All right. So, yeah, sometimes you have to fool with the fractions, but that's okay. What is 2 minus 3?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. And then negative 3/4 and negative 1/2 is what? Yeah, negative 1/4, negative 1 1/4. Right? Yes. And even though that's ugly, well, we got 2 negatives, so negative 3/4. Yeah, so we're really adding them and keeping them negative. And if you wanted, I mean, and honestly, what we really did was we made common denominators. I mean, that's 3/4 and 1/2. We kind of knew what it would be because we used those fractions so much. But think about if I had made common denominators, you would have been looking at that. So we could have even just said -5/4 on the bottom, but we went ahead and wrote it as 1 1/4. It's not going to be a pretty fraction. I would be okay with either 1 over 1 1/4. I'd be okay with 1 over 5/4, 1 over 1.25. Now that's the only time I would bother with making a decimal. Like all these other things we left as fractions. We didn't do anything making decimals. But like if you had made that into, that wouldn't have been a big deal. Okay? You won't have many of those, but there are a couple on your homework that they do throw in a fraction, so I wanted you to at least see it. You just treat it and it is what it is. Okay? All right, questions on any of that before we leave it?